In 2012, the Portland Trail Blazers made a decision that was going to change the course of their franchise for the next decade. They selected Damian Lillard, a small point guard out of Weber State, with the 6th overall pick. Over the next couple of years, Dame would cement himself as the franchise cornerstone for the Trailblazers, as he had many memorable moments, from hitting his first game winner in the playoffs versus Houston to hitting one of the biggest and coldest game winners we have ever seen in Portland in Game 7 versus the Thunder. From Rookie of the Year awards to All-Star selections to All-NBA selections, Damian Lillard has done it all, and he has given the Portland Trailblazers everything. Fortunately for Dame, Portland did not do the same, as even though they did draft his running mate CJ McCollum, and he did have LaMarcus Aldridge for the first couple of years in his career, it's no surprise and no lie that Portland didn't really build a very competent and competitive roster around him. And due to this fact, Portland has been very mid to good in the past couple of years in the NBA, but they were never true contenders. Yes, they made it to the Western Conference Finals a couple of times. Yes, they did have some pretty big moments in the playoffs that made you think, dang, maybe they can finally do it and make the NBA Finals, but they never did. Part of that being because they would run into teams like the Clippers or the Golden State Warriors, but let's be honest, Portland was pretty outmatched, and if it wasn't for Dame, they probably wouldn't even been in the playoffs in half of those years. That being said, throughout the whole time, Dame said he was loyal to Portland, he was loyal to the grind, he wasn't going to run from the grind, and he was going to stick it out there, and his hopes were to win a championship in Portland. Dame signed extension after extension, and he kept on saying when asked about it that he was committed to Portland, and after a while, many people just started to accept it. Now, there were still some people who were like, Dame, we want to see you get a ring, go ahead, leave. But Dame kept reiterating he wanted to stay. So people like me were just like, look, if Dame wants to stay, then just let him stay. That is okay. A couple weeks ago, Damian Lillard announced that, hey, love it here, I love what I've done here, but it's time to move on, and he officially put in a trade request. Now, this wasn't shocking at all. As I just said to you guys, Dame has been there forever, and this is nothing new. Portland has failed to build a competent roster around him, and they have brought in a lot of young talent, specifically at the guard position. So although we love Dame, it just seemed like it was his time to go. So when he put in that trade request, people like me were relieved, and I was not surprised at all. But what did surprise me was the fact that Dame only had one team on his list, and that was the Miami Heat. Now, I will say, Dame on Miami with Jimmy and Bam would be very impressive, but the issue is Miami has nothing to give up for Damian Lillard. Like I just said, the idea is for Damian Lillard, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler to be on the same team. However, if you get Dame, you're going to have to give up Bam, because as great as Tyler Herro is, Miami doesn't really have a lot of leverage, and it has been reported, and it's no surprise either, that the Blazers want a good player and some picks for Damian Lillard, and that is something Miami doesn't have, draft picks. So although that is Dame's only team that he put, and he's also put out in recent weeks that if he is traded to any other team, he won't play for them, it just doesn't seem really likely to happen unless other teams get involved, which seems like what's going to happen. Now, Dame is still a phenomenal basketball player. This past year, he actually averaged his career high in points, as he averaged 32 points per game, dished out 7.3 assists per game, stole the ball about one time a game, and did all of this on 46% shooting from the field. Dame has still shown this past season, despite being injury riddled last season and having some doubts coming into this season, that he is still an amazing player, and he's still one of the top point guards within the entire NBA. With that being said, a lot of teams are hesitant to trade for him for a multitude of reasons. One, Dame is pretty old. Dame is 32, and he'll actually turn 33 in a couple of days. That is not something a lot of teams want to sacrifice a lot for. I mean, what's the point of sacrificing a lot for Dame if he'll be out the league in like 3 or 4 years? The second thing is that contract. In 2026-2027 season, Damian Lillard will be getting paid $63 million as a 38-year-old. And that is insane. A lot of teams don't want to pay a player that much when he's most likely at the tail end or way out of his prime. And then with the new rules of the CBA and how different the salary cap is going to look, why would you want to pay a player that much money if you have to give up a lot for him and he basically nukes your whole entire roster. That's just not really a smart decision for the team trading for Dame. On top of that, with Dame coming out and saying things like, oh, if I'm not traded to the Miami Heat, I'm just not going to play at all, who would want a player like that to play for them? Now, do I think Dame is lying when he says that, or do I think that might be a false report? 1000%. Dame doesn't seem like the player to just get traded to a team, and just because that's not the Miami Heat, he's just like, I'm not going to play for you. With that being said, if you're the GM in another front office, that is something you have to take into account, and that is something I would take very seriously, and I would immediately mark him off my board if I was not Pat Riley and the rest of the people in the Heat front office. Now, Miami and the Trailblazers are going to have to figure out a way to make it work. But one thing that I feel like I should say to everybody is that Portland is not obligated to trade Dame wherever he wants to go. Yes, Dame has been very loyal to Portland for a long time. Yes, Dame played a lot of good basketball and gave a lot of great years to Portland. But think about it. If Portland makes a bad trade for Dame and then don't get a whole lot for him, the narrative isn't going to be, oh, thank you, Portland, for honoring Dame and giving him what he wants. People are going to be crucifying that front office. And as much as I am for player empowerment and players being treated fairly, this is where I just have to draw the line. No front office or no team should have to honor a player's wishes and sacrifice for the success of their franchise. I think you should, yes, honor a player, try your best to honor a player and give them what they want, but at the end of the day, the priorities for your franchise should be the number one thing that you're looking at. And if Portland's thinking that, then objectively Miami is not the place to be. However, in my opinion, I do think Dame will get traded to Miami. However, I don't think Miami and Portland will be the only two teams involved in the deal. Now, will other teams will be involved? I honestly do not know, but more than likely there will be some teams with some picks to spare, some young players to give, that will be involved in this trade. This could be a 3-team trade or a 4-team trade, but one thing I can guarantee you is it is most definitely going to be a multi-team trade. At the end of the day though, this is something that I think we all saw coming, and I think we're finally happy that it is happening. Now, Dame's probably not going to get traded anytime soon just because of how complicated and how many options the Portland Trailblazers have in front of them right now, but I do think eventually it will happen. But at the end of the day, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I'm so glad this is over, and I'm so glad Dame finally is getting out of Portland potentially. Now, these are just my thoughts, of course. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let me know what opinions y'all have and where you think Dame will end up if it's not Miami. That's all I have for now. If you like the video and you like these type of videos, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I'm posting videos like this all the time. But that's all I have for now. And until next time, peace.